Tractate Me'ilah, General Introduction. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, if a person will commit a misappropriation and sin unintentionally against the holies of Hashem, he shall bring his asham offering to Hashem, an unblemished ram from the flock, with a value of 2 shekels, according to the sacred shekel for the asham offering. For what he has taken from the holies, he shall make restitution and add a 5th to it, and he shall give it to the Kohen. Then the Kohen shall provide him atonement with the asham ram, and it shall be forgiven for him. Vayikra chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. The Torah refers to one who unintentionally misappropriates the holies of Hashem hekdesh, meaning that he misuses them either by deriving unauthorized benefit from them or by removing them from the domain of hekdesh. Someone who commits such an act must repay the value of the item or benefit plus an additional 5th and bring an asham offering. This unintentional transgression with its required atonement is referred to as me'ilah, after the Torah's expression tim'ol ma'al. The asham offering is brought as atonement for me'ilah. The asham offering brought as atonement for me'ilah is known as the asham me'ilos. Intentional misuse of hekdesh will be discussed below in section 3. 1. Categories of holies. The Torah in this passage refers to the misuse of the holies of Hashem. This is expounded by Torah's Kohanim as denoting holies that are designated exclusively for Hashem, which includes holies that are not designated, which excludes holies that are not designated exclusively for Hashem. Thus, whether a particular holy is subject to me'ilah will depend on whether it is the exclusive holies of Hashem. Now, there are 2 general categories of holies. One category is items consecrated for the temple upkeep, bedek habayis. Such items are either used themselves for the upkeep of the bedek habayis or are sold and the proceeds used for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. Bedek habayis items have only monetary sanctity. Nevertheless, since the original owner no longer has any share in them, they are designated exclusively for Hashem. Accordingly, they are subject to me'ilah from the time they are consecrated. Another category of holies is items consecrated for offering on the Mizbeach, altar. Such items have physical sanctity. This category can be subdivided into 2 main groups: Kodashe Kodashim, literally most holy sanctities, and Kodashim Kalim, literally sanctities of lesser holiness. The Kodshe Kodashim group includes the Olah, Chatas, Asham, and communal Shalamim offerings, Shechita, slaughtering the animal, and Kabbalah, receiving the blood in a Kli Sheresh, sanctified vessel. Of these korbanos, offerings must be done in the northern part of the temple courtyard. The meat of some Kodashim, such as the Olah, is not eaten. For other korbanos, the outer Chatos, Asham, and communal Shalamim, the Emurim, sacrificial parts, are burned on the Mizbeach, while the meat is eaten in the courtyard by male Kohanim. The various mincha offerings are also considered Kodshe Kodashim. Kodashim Kalim include the Todah, Shalamim, Bechor, Meiser, and Pesach offerings. Their Shechita and Kabbalah may be done anywhere in the courtyard. Their Emurim are burned on the Mizbeach, and their meat is eaten by their owners or by any other Jew, with the exception of the Bechor, which may be eaten only by Kohanim and their households, and the Pesach, which may be eaten only by those designated beforehand. When someone consecrates an animal as Kodshe Kodashim, he no longer has any share in the animal. It becomes exclusively Hashem's and is thus subject to me'ilah. True, there may eventually be parts of the korban that are eaten by the Kohanim, but those portions will be received by the Kohanim from Hashem. At the time of consecration, though, the Kodshe Kodashim are deemed the exclusive holies of Hashem and are subject to me'ilah. Once the blood of such Kodshe Kodashim is thrown on the Mizbeach, Zerika, which permits the Kohanim to eat its meat, the meat is no longer designated for Hashem. Accordingly, the meat is no longer subject to me'ilah. The Emurim, however, which are burned on the Mizbeach and remain designated solely for Hashem, remain subject to me'ilah. The meat of Kodashim Kalim, on the other hand, is eaten by its owner. Therefore, consecrating the animal does not designate it as being exclusively for Hashem. Thus, the animal is not subject to me'ilah, even though it has been consecrated as a korban. After Zerika, however, the Emurim are fit for burning on the Mizbeach. At that point, the Emurim become designated exclusively for Hashem and are subject to me'ilah. The remaining meat, whether the part eaten by its owners or the part given to the Kohanim, has obviously not become designated for Hashem, and thus does not become subject to me'ilah. Another rule that generally applies regarding me'ilah is that there is not anything whose mitzvah is completely done and is subject to me'ilah. See Gemara 6a and 11a and b. That is, once the mitzvahs of a particular holy item have been fulfilled, the item is no longer subject to me'ilah. Thus, for example, an olah remains subject to me'ilah until it is completely burned on the Mizbeach and its ashes removed. See Chapter 2, Mishnahs 3 and 4. 2. Conditions for liability. One is not liable for an act of me'ilah unless the article he misused is valued at a pruta or more. That is, if you remove something from the domain of hekdesh, it must be valued at least a pruta. And if you derive benefit from hekdesh, the benefit must have at least the value of a pruta. See Chapter 5, Mishnahs 1 and 2. As far as me'ilah for benefiting from hekdesh is concerned, there is a difference between articles that lose value through normal use, e.g. a garment which tends to wear out, and those that keep their value, e.g. a golden goblet which rarely shows any sign of wear. One who receives a pruta's benefit from an article that ordinarily loses value through use is not liable unless it loses at least the value of a pruta in the course of misusing it. By contrast, one who benefits from an article that does not ordinarily lose value is liable as soon as he derives a pruta's worth of benefit. See Chapter 5, Mishnah 1. The Gemara, 18b, cites scriptural sources for these laws. Generally, throughout the Torah, we say that the rule that one's agent is considered like him does not apply to a prohibited matter. Therefore, someone who appoints an agent to do something that is prohibited is not liable for transgressing that prohibition. Me'ilah, however, is an exception to this, and in many situations, if someone appoints an agent to do an act of me'ilah, the one who appoints him is liable for me'ilah, and the agent is exempt. The matter is discussed in Chapter 6. 3. Intentional misuse. As stated explicitly in the Torah, see above, the law of me'ilah applies to one who unintentionally misuses hekdesh property. One who benefits from hekdesh intentionally is neither liable to pay the value of the benefit and the additional fifth, nor to bring an asha me'ilos. However, if when he was benefiting from the article it lost value due to damage or wear and tear, he must compensate hekdesh for the loss. In this case, his payment reflects the loss of value, not the benefit he derived. See Rambam Hilchos Me'ilah, Chapter 1, Verse 3. There is a Tanaic dispute, Pesachim 33a, whether one who intentionally misuses the property of hekdesh is subject to malchus, lashes, or death at the hand of heaven. The halacha follows the view that he receives malchus. See Rambam Ibid with commentaries for further discussion. 4. Deconsecration through me'ilah. The Gemara in 18a cites a brisa that interprets the word ma'al as deviation or change. The Gemara derives from this that when me'ilah is committed with an article, its status changes. It is removed from its consecrated state and becomes the property of the one who committed the me'ilah. Accordingly, further use of this article is not considered me'ilah. See Rashi Pesachim 27b and Arachim 21a. However, this rule is limited to articles that have only monetary sanctity, such as articles consecrated for Bedek Habayis. With respect to articles possessing physical sanctity, the law is that they retain their consecrated status even after me'ilah is committed. See Chapter 5, Mishnah 3. Rashi's commentary. Many commentators point out that the commentary printed on the inner margin of the Gemara's page, though commonly referred to as Rashi, was in fact not authored by Rashi. See the introductory note to Takanas Ezra on this tractate, where the author cites various authorities and proofs which demonstrate that Rashi was not in fact the author of this commentary. Nevertheless, the author of the Rashi commentary, whoever he was undoubtedly one of the Rishonim. When we cite this commentary, we refer to it as Mefarish, expounder.